In ancient Cyprus, 300 years before Jesus Christ, there lived an opulent merchant named Zeno. He lost all his wealth when a violent storm engulfed his ship and his cargo. This tragic whim of nature annihilated the labor of a life in an instant. Put yourself in Zeno's place. How would you react to the abrupt loss of the fruit of so many years of labor, swept away by a ruthless natural force? What is the right reaction? Anger? Sadness? Would you feel blurred by life? For many, these reactions would be natural. But not for Zeno, the founder of Stoicism. A slight adjustment can have an eternal impact, and a small modification of your mentality can lead to major transformations. At the heart of Stoicism lies the quintessence of acceptance and indifference. Inspired by Socrates and other eminent thinkers, Zeno forged and propagated the principles of Stoicism. According to Zeno, despite our lack of control over external events, we hold power over our reactions, and it is imperative to exercise this control with wisdom. Rather than crying over spilled milk, or in this case, over drowned goods, Zeno kept his cool, staying calm and neutral, despite his difficult situation. Today, Stoics are often perceived, perhaps by mistake, as imperturbable individuals who avoid emotional extremes, such as anger or anxiety attacks. But the original Stoicism was much richer. Beyond a term to designate impassive people, it is a way of seeing, of apprehending and of understanding the world, a way of life that has gone through the centuries. Stoicism can be applied today in the same way as it did thousands of years ago, and its advantages are just as important. Stoicism guides us in the transformation of negative emotions generated by difficult experiences into reflections that offer a unique perspective on the world. The perspective is crucial. Each individual, strong with his distinct experiences, nourishes a unique vision of things. As Stoics met, discussed and taught in public, their general philosophy was widely known. They thought that Stoic principles could benefit everyone, and therefore it was not logical for them to hide in a school or in the courtyard of a palace. From slave to emperor, everyone could embrace and excel in Stoicism, and many have done so. Among the Stoic figures are Epictetus, formerly a slave and whose name means acquired, Seneca, an eminent statesman, and Marcus Aurelius, a Roman emperor, among the most influential individuals in human history. The original Stoics lived according to their precepts, rejecting all discrimination and fighting inequalities. They created the term cosmopolitan, synonymous with citizens of the world. Today, this term evokes metropolises such as New York, Toronto, Dubai and London. It is this type of unity and solidarity that the Stoics preach, even encouraging, in refractory times, the Stoic education of women. What drives so many people to embrace Stoicism as a philosophy of life? In an unpredictable world, our emotions can often disrupt the flow of events. Our sadness comes more from unexpected misfortunes than from the misfortunes themselves. The rain nourishes our environment, favoring the flowering of plants and refreshing the climate. Yet, to be surprised by an adverse without an umbrella is rarely pleasant. But why do we not sink into despair at every adversity? Because we anticipate this eventuality, conscious of its inevitable nature. We know that we cannot dominate the weather, and the rain will always be the place for a new lightning. Stoicism guides us to anticipate the worst possible outcomes, finding peace in the acceptance of their eventual outcome. One of the key Stoic exercises, voluntary discomfort, aims to cultivate gratitude. Sleep on the floor of your kitchen, take cold showers, do not eat anything other than potatoes for a few days. This practice helps to realize that, despite the adversities, you can not only survive, but also prosper with a good state of mind. It also creates a mental resilience, preparing us for future misfortunes. In an era where advertising bombards us continuously, suggesting that true happiness can only be achieved through material possessions or social status, this message takes on a crucial importance. We are thrown into life with limited knowledge. We grow up learning things at home, at school and observing the world. The fact is that, very often, these three sources of knowledge teach us different things. The question is whether we need to internalize all this knowledge. If this is the case, we can have unrealistic expectations for our life, ultimately leading to disappointment and dissatisfaction. This is not a way of living. We should rather strive to improve ourselves. We must act for ourselves and nothing else. Linking external expectations or secondary attachments to our actions often leads to disappointment. Often, we try to fill this void with external elements, such as buying a luxury car, a big house, or even creating a family. Sometimes we do these things for their external appearance, rather than for their true value. But Stoicism warns against entrusting our happiness to external forces, which are always likely to fail. Cars break down, natural disasters destroy cities, and divorces rise. But even the simplest pleasures of life have a price, whether physical or mental. If we don't know how to live with less free space for what really matters in our lives, we should base our happiness on our intrinsic value as human beings, not on what we own or acquire. We must strive to remain serene, whatever the circumstances that life presents to us. Because ultimately, although we have no control over most of the events that happen to us, we fully master our reaction to them. This is the dichotomy of control, the most important principle of Stoicism. Stoics make the clear distinction between what is in our control and what is not. We must base our value on what we can control, not on what escapes our control. Aiming for goals is positive, but collapsing when they fail is, according to Stoics, useless. Making YouTube videos is easier than reigning as a Roman emperor, but it presents challenges. You need an idea, which can be long. Then, you have to do your research, sometimes put everything in the trash, then start again, write the script of the video, create the video, edit it, create the title, the thumbnail and everything else before clicking on upload. Before clicking on the download button, everything is under your control. After that, it is the YouTube algorithm that takes over. However, many people judge the success of their YouTube channel or their Instagram account according to the number of views and subscribers, parameters that, for the most part, escape their control. Stoics advocate measuring success by effort and hard work, not by expected results. Trust the process. Think of a person who has worked hard over the last 6 months. Assuming she deserves a promotion, she introduces herself to her boss with her performance report. The boss thanks him, but does not grant him the promotion and he goes home thinking he must be bad at his job. He does not consider that the boss could simply wake up angry, that someone else could have been better qualified at that time or that the company simply lost money and could not afford it. He does not know the reason, but he is still opposed. If he had simply given importance to the quality of the performance report he submitted, if he had continued to do what he was doing to get the promotion he wanted, he could have been happier. With the appropriate perspective, his goal is not to decrease, but simply to differ. This readjustment of the state of mind is crucial. A true Stoic does not measure his success in profit, but rejoices in living comfortably without the luxuries offered by money. The 4 main virtues of Stoicism are wisdom, courage, temperance and justice. Wisdom consists of making the distinction between what is inside and what is outside and to choose our reaction to things that happen to us. As Viktor Frankl said, between the stimulus and the response, there is a space. It is our power to choose our response. Courage. In short, persist and resist. Temperance or moderation is what I just did. Do more with less. Say more with less. While Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk are at the top of the Forbes list, Stoics believe that wealth should be limited to the essentials, followed by what is sufficient. Justice is the most important of all virtues. It teaches that no one should hurt another, because we are all born for each other, to do good to each other, and not harm. Nelson Mandela was one of the most famous African leaders in the world. While fighting apartheid, he was sentenced to life in prison, where he spent 27 years before being released. When he was released, he was elected president of South Africa. And many people thought that he was going to brutally punish all people who had anything to do with apartheid or his imprisonment. But of course, he was not. Throughout his detention, Mandela read the works of Mark Aurel and learned many fundamental values of Stoicism, which he put into practice throughout his life. Nelson Mandela learned reconciliation instead of revenge. He emphasized that the past was out of their control, encouraging them to build a better nation for the future. This is the way of Stoicism. In medicine, Stoicism is at the heart of rational and emotional behavioral therapy and logotherapy. This therapy helps patients identify negative thought patterns related to emotional and behavioral problems. It encourages questioning the logical foundation of negative thoughts, allowing them to be replaced by healthier and more constructive beliefs, once it is obvious that they are unfounded. Logotherapy is based on the Stoic principle of an intrinsic goal for each human being, even in difficult times. However, it is easier said than done. It is a process like any other. We must redefine our thinking, eliminate the old to welcome the new. To solve the problems of happiness, we must practice self-esteem. By redefining our value around the elements under our control rather than those who are not, we can lead a happier and more fulfilling life. Stoicism guides us through the past and present storms to sail towards more peaceful waters. Even if our boat is dark and we all perish, we can find satisfaction in a well-lived life, no matter how long it lasts. Because remember that everything has a meaning.